Once we identify a training need through organizational analysis, we can continue the needs assessment process with person analysis. In this lecture, we're going to explore this process in more detail. Person analysis is exactly what it sounds like. We try to understand the people of an organization. It involves an analysis of performance issues so we can be sure that training solutions actually work. We should consider how learning and performance are influenced by person characteristics, inputs and outputs, consequences, and feedback. What is the current status of each of these components, and what do we want them to look like in order to improve performance? Person analysis also involves the identification of who needs to be trained. Everyone, new hires, or maybe top-level leaders. This process relies on data from these sources. Reviews of objective performance data from the appraisal process, information gathered from tests, assessments, assessment centers, work samples, and from interviews and focus groups with subject matter experts. These sources provide baseline data, information about where trainees stand today. Later, we would compare pre-training data to post-training data to see if any changes occurred. We then have ways of isolating training effects to determine if training was the source of any changes we identify. We'll learn more about training evaluation at the end of this course. There are two tools that can help us conduct person analysis. A gap analysis can help us identify performance deficiencies by comparing current performance with expected future performance. The gap that exists obviously needs to be addressed, and training may be one way of addressing that gap. A root cause analysis goes a step further and attempts to understand what caused the gap. Were performance expectations clear? Did employees receive feedback? Did they have opportunities to practice? By asking the right questions, we might be able to identify other solutions that may work better than training. But before we pick any solutions, we need to collect information about person characteristics, inputs, outputs, consequences, and feedback. First and foremost, we need to understand potential trainees, their current performance, their current KSAOs, their current behaviors. We refer to their KSAOs as their person characteristics. We're also interested in their readiness for training. Are they motivated to attend? Are they motivated to participate? Are they motivated to transfer learning to the job? When it comes to readiness for training, the work environment also matters. We have to pay attention to whether it supports, facilitates learning and transfer. To assess whether potential trainees have the prerequisites to complete training, we can use a variety of different assessments. We can also use a literacy audit to determine whether trainees have the basic skills. If some trainees don't have the prerequisites, the organization may offer remedial training prior to the actual training event. We may also want to assess potential trainees' cognitive ability, or their capacity to use reason to solve problems, to work with data, and to comprehend verbal information. Cognitive ability can also be measured with standardized tests and can predict training success. We also want to measure trainees' self-efficacy or their beliefs about their ability to learn and to apply content to their jobs. If they lack confidence, they may also lack motivation. Another person characteristic worth mentioning is age. 1, some mental capabilities do decline with age. 2, generational cohorts tend to differ in terms of their preferences for the learning environment. Traditionalists, for example, prefer a stable learning environment, whereas Gen Xers prefer a more self-directed approach. We need to know what resources or inputs are available to support trainees. Social support facilitates learning and performance. It refers to managers' and peers' willingness to provide feedback and reinforcement. Situational constraints can impede learning and performance. These constraints include lacking the necessary tools and equipment, materials and supplies, budgetary support, and time to perform. We should also measure trainees' perceptions of outputs or performance outcomes. What do they think the organization wants them to do? When people are unclear about what is expected of them, their performance may not reach desired levels. Finally, we assess consequences and feedback. Consequences refer to the types of rewards that employees receive for performing well. If employees don't believe rewards are adequate, their motivation may suffer. Plus, the norms of the organization may actually encourage people to not perform their jobs. We can attempt to enhance trainees' motivation by communicating to them the benefits of training, the job, personal, and career benefits. Feedback refers to the information employees receive about their performance. Is it specific? Is it timely? Is it frequent? If not, learning and performance may suffer. As you can see, there are multiple factors that influence learning and transfer. We need to understand each of these factors in order to design training programs that compensate for and make up for what is lacking.